Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy.
And we are just two friends who love to get together and talk about movies so much so that sometimes we do it twice.
It's just too much fun.
Yeah. So just the behind the scenes is that we got together and recorded this episode about a week ago.
Yeah.
And then thanks to me and my mistakes, the audio wasn't recording.
It's okay.
And so after about a week of just frustration and kicking myself, I finally said, all right, you up for redoing it? And you're so gracious. Here we are.
Listen, you don't have to twist my arm to podcast with you.
So, we'll see. This is, I think, our first time ever doing exactly like this. Sometimes we've had to do a second take starting over,
we did
5 minutes
Nosferatu
in.
twice.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So,
because something happened. I don't remember. Because remember, we were like, oh, we talked so much about his mustache.
That's
And it was
right.
amazing.
Yeah, we had a whole thing about mustachioed vampires being our band.
We can't be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Just most of the time.
Oh, gosh. So, yes, as I said, we're going to talk about the movie Friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give a brief summary of the movie. So Craig in the movie is played by Tim Robinson, and he lives a simple, routine life with his wife and son. But when he strikes up a friendship with his new neighbor, Austin, played by Paul Rudd, he is reinvigorated by the thrill of friendship. However, soon Craig proves a bit too awkward to maintain the friendship, and when Austin declares they should go their separate ways, it sends Craig into a spiral of trying to recapture companionship wherever he can, or force his way back into a relationship with Austin, and his struggles lead to his life unraveling. Andy.
Yeah.
Not that there's any suspense here because I already know the answer, but was Friendship good?
No. And the first time I was like, well, I don't think it was, but it was just so weird that I'm having a hard time figuring out. No, it's not good. That's one good thing about having to redo this. I've had a few days to think about it. Just not a good movie.
Yeah, and that was my response right away is I said, I want to help you out, just push it towards no.
Yeah, you were right.
And the more I sit on it, the more sure of it I am.
Same.
And it bums me out because, as I said, I really wanted to like this movie. This is a movie I was excited about.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't get a lot of great comedies anymore.
And we still don't have one.
Yeah, exactly. Tim Robinson's a guy who we both said we kind of know mainly just through social media, like posts.
Yeah.
You see snippets of his shows.
Yeah.
He does a lot of sketch comedy, obviously. And that's about as much as I can handle of him is, give me a 1 to 2 minute video at most of his humor. And even then it's hit or miss. So
yeah,
I don't know. It wasn't like I was big on this guy, but I thought, okay, he does some things well.
Mm-hmm.
He can execute some things humorously. And so maybe if he's in a movie that's a little more structured than his chaotic sketch comedy.
Yeah.
And he's next to Paul Rudd, who we all love.
Right.
Everybody,
universal appeal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, maybe this will work.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
It feels a lot like a giant long sketch of his.
Yeah.
Of Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because he didn't write this movie. He's not a creative force behind the movie.
I don't understand this at all.
It is, I believe, a first-time writer-director. Yes. And it feels like that first-time writer-director was like, I've got a premise, and then you do your thing, Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like.
So it ends up feeling like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work at all.
Yeah. We said the tone was crazy weird in this movie.
It's so weird.
And by that, we just mean, like, obviously, the whole movie, the point of it is to make you uncomfortable with the awkwardness and hope that you think it's humorous that this is so awkward.
Right.
But when we talk about it, the tone being off, we said, like, from the start, the movie opens with him and his wife at a cancer survivor support group.
Right.
I guess I shouldn't say just people going through cancer. I don't even know if it's necessarily survivors.
I don't know, right.
His wife is a survivor, but she's talking about being worried about it coming back. I mean, like, it's very heavy for the beginning of this comedy movie.
And then he's just an idiot.
They mine it for a couple of laughs, and I was like, okay, there's some awkwardness here that's kind of funny. But, yeah, when you start with, like, that serious of a tone, and then it just kind of it set me off balance from the beginning. I was like, okay, I don't know what kind of movie we're in for.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we said that the biggest thing that really falls apart in this movie is that Craig in the movie is just a complete sociopath.
Yeah.
And I said he's a Travis Bickle type. And we said, for those movie fans obviously know Travis Bickle, but for those who don't know, he's this Robert De Niro character in Taxi Driver. Famous movie from, 50 years ago now?
76.
So about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, we really are coming up on 50-year anniversary of that.
That's crazy.
But anyways, yeah, we're like, it makes sense in Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver
It's
De
a
Niro's
R-rated drama. It's not passing as a comedy.
playing a guy who is a night shift taxi driver, so just this loner in the city.
Yeah.
And he's off from the beginning, and every social interaction he has just furthers that, and it's about how he...
Yeah, the movie's about him
spirals. Yeah.
unraveling.
Exactly. So this one, and it's not played for laughs, obviously. It's
No, not a lot of people have Taxi Driver on their list of funniest movies of all time.
So, the thing that always sticks with me in Taxi Driver, the scene that like most irks me, because there's like, Taxi Driver does the thing where it's one of the first movies I ever saw where I felt like the film director was saying, here's your protagonist that you're naturally going to root for, and then let me make it challenging for you.
Yeah.
And I remember as a college student watching this movie that somebody suggested you got to watch Taxi Driver and watching it. And of course, I'm rooting for De Niro. He's my protagonist.
Right.
But when he goes on that date and he takes her to that special theater, and I'm just like,
it's brutal.
You're like cringing. You're like, what are you doing?
It's brutal.
And yeah, it's brutal, and it's like gut wrenching, and it's horrible to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie's like, well, what if that's hilarious?
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Here's the thing, too. It's like comedy that arises out of awkwardness does work. I mean, that is what The Office is, a beloved show. Apatow does it in some of his movies. I mean, his movies are raunchy and over the top, but they usually have some kind of heart or deeper meaning to them. Even like 40-Year-Old Virgin and stuff like that has these, moments, and they're funny, and that arises from the awkwardness, so it can work. It just doesn't here at all. And you're right. The problem is with, I hate to pick on him, but the problem is with the Tim Robinson character. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's stupid, and it's annoying. And like you said, it's alarming. This guy's crazy. Like, people aren't reacting enough in this movie to how crazy he is.
Yeah. And it's weird because when you start the movie, he's got this beautiful wife.
That
and
was
kid.
just a terrible
decision.
decision.
A job, and you're like, how did he ever get any of this? None of that makes sense because nothing about him is not a total sociopath.
It's a terrible idea, and that's how you're introduced to the character in the movie. So right off the bat, like you said, you're just off, and you're like, this is. I mean, it's like keep talking about Taxi Driver. Travis Bickle doesn't have a gorgeous wife and a baby. He is a lonely, isolated. Cannot make a connection. I mean, that's what that movie's about. Right. His inability to make a connection with any human being.
And yeah, when he gets that date with the pretty girl, he ruins it immediately because he's a sociopath.
Right, and she knows that.
Right.
So she avoids him for the rest of the movie.
Exactly.
Which is what everyone should be doing to Tim Robinson in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that really disappointed me about this movie is, I talked about last time, and this sounds like such a film dork thing to say, and such like a pretentious thing to say, is that this movie didn't say anything about agriculture. But the reason I say that is because here is a movie called Friendship. That's the advertising I thought was really smart. It made it look like it was almost like a horror movie about males making friends,
and how hard and awkward and uncomfortable that is. That could really
speak to our culture, a culture that is like fascinated with the fact that men are having trouble connecting, that there's this male loneliness epidemic, that guys just have a hard time with friendships. And so it's like there's so much rich ground there for them to play in.
And we don't.
Is it interested in that? Not at all. Because it doesn't actually say anything about the things that cause that or why that's a struggle. It's not even making jokes out of those things. It's literally just totally separated from anything going on in this movie.
Yep.
So it just felt like such a waste. It felt like from the outset I was excited because I thought this is going to be a movie perfect for the times.
Yeah.
And instead, it's a movie that's
nothing.
Just...
It's nothing, except the only thing this movie is frustrating.
Yes.
That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah. And then we have to say, unfortunately, Paul Rudd, who we said at the beginning, universal acclaim, he doesn't even come across.
He's on a cold streak right now. Yeah.
And we talked about I said he's like a professional pitcher who's got his various pitches, and he's got a number of them. He's got probably more than most people, but you know, the different versions of Paul Rudd that you can get that are awesome is like he can play the overconfident guy like he does in a lot of the ridiculous comedies like Anchorman and Wet Hot American Summer, where he's just like so full of himself but delusional,
and so over the top.
Yeah. And then you've got like the sort of grumpy, sarcastic guy like in Role Models. And then kind of most famously is like lovable goofball, which he is in even something like Clueless.
Yep.
Or the most famous movie about male friendship, I Love You, Man.
Yeah.
Which I had said after watching Friendship, the next day I had to watch I Love You, Man. Just like a
palate cleanser.
Like
Yeah.
remind myself that I love Paul Rudd and
Yes.
he does great connection movies.
Yeah.
This.
He's picking really weird roles. We said last time, and I'll say it again, like, Paul Rudd, stay away from A24. It's not doing you any favors, man.
No, yeah. So this year he's at Death of a Unicorn and this, and we said both of them were like
Just not good uses of him at all.
And what we said was, I think the issue is that these movies are trying to take these characters that are nothing characters and say Paul Rudd will just make them work, as opposed to interesting characters and saying, and now with Paul Rudd in it, it's going to be even better.
Yeah.
So like Death of a Unicorn, that character's whole thing was just to be like this bumbling idiot who's just frustrated.
Yeah, he's just an
and they're
oaf
like,
the whole movie.
But people will forgive you because you're Paul Rudd.
No,
don't do that to Paul Rudd. Don't make Paul Rudd the bumbling idiot who only redeeming factor is, 30 years of
goodwill
as a fan. Yeah. And in this one, it's like he's supposed to be this guy that Tim Robinson becomes fascinated with because, you need some. It's like there's been dozens of iterations of Paul Rudd's that you could see somebody just being like
I want to hang out
fascinated
with
with.
this
I need
guy.
to hang out with that guy. I don't know how they got none of it in this movie.
I don't either, because I was thinking about this. Even if the character is not, he doesn't have like the Paul Rudd humor and wit. Like Paul Rudd is also just really good at just playing a dude. Mm-hmm. Like, so he was a recurring guest on Friends in the last season. And they didn't really give him a whole lot to do. He was just a dude. His name was Mike. And, it was just like, he's just a dude. And you're just like, but he's a likable dude. So they don't even just let him do that. Like, we talked about this last time. They have this gag of him, like he wears a hairpiece. It's like, this isn't funny at all.
Yeah.
And poor Paul Rudd, like they really expect him to do the heavy lifting to get that joke over. And it's like, it's not funny. No. Like we talked about it. It's like, it's funny in Tommy Boy when it's just it takes up 10 seconds of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not funny in this. And then they bring it back. And then at the end, it's like this huge plot point almost. And you're just like, guys, this is not working. It's just not working at all. And yeah, Paul Rudd, he's amazing, but he's just not magical where he can elevate just bad material like this.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
It is a bummer.
Yeah.
Hopefully whatever he does next is a win.
He's going to be in Avengers Doomsday. I mean, I'm much happier about that than I am what he's been doing this year.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, we didn't even think about this last time. Going back to last year, he was in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
It's like, Paul Rudd, buddy, you're so much better than this.
Yeah. It does make me wonder, maybe he's just at a weird point in his career. Because you think about all those movies, one thing they have in common is that he's not the star of any of them.
Right.
I mean, like, okay. Like, that's actually, I think most of Paul Rudd's career, he's not been the star. I mean, like, it's only a handful of times he's been, like, the guy.
Yeah.
First name on the poster type guy. But still, like, I don't know, it just makes you wonder, like, I mean, Death of a Unicorn was straight up a movie for
Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
And Paul Rudd's like
he's the
you're
right.
Side,
it's a Jenna Ortega
character, movie. And then this one really was, we're saying it's
Tim
more
Robinson.
of a Tim Robinson movie, and he's sort of the supporting character. And
Yeah.
then Ghostbusters Frozen Empires,
he's just thrown in there with like 20 other characters.
Yes, exactly. That was a weird balance of like young characters we didn't care about and too much fan service to the old characters, and there's Paul Rudd just sort of in
kind
the
of
middle.
stuck in the middle.
And it's just, like maybe Paul Rudd just needs a little more focus on Paul Rudd,
Maybe. Yeah. I'm still rooting for the guy.
Oh yeah.
So I want him to kind of come out of this slump. And it's also worth pointing out, like, Death of a Unicorn didn't find an audience. This movie is not finding an audience.
Yeah. The other person in this, there's really only 3 people that are kind of like of note.
Worth mentioning, yeah.
And that's Kate Mara. And I said last time, say it again. She has a career that I think is not as good as her talent.
Yeah.
Like if you look at her IMDb, it's pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Like her probably most famous movie is Shooter, which we talked about. Is like kind of a likable movie, but it's kind of like
it's a B
TNT,
movie.
Like it comes on like,
Yeah.
oh, Shooter's kind of fun.
Shooter's
You
on,
leave
it can
in
stay
the
on.
background.
Yeah.
And then she was in the Bad Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And I watch and go like, poor Kate Mara having to be in this movie,
Yeah. What a thankless part.
being the person who you're most going like, why are you?
What are you
in this
doing?
movie? Why
Yeah.
are you with him at all? Like,
Yeah.
why? How did this ever?
Why did you even go on a date with this guy, let alone marry this guy and have a kid with him?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Again, poor Kate Mara.
Yeah, I don't fault her at all. I've never seen her in a movie and been like, she's not very good in this movie.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Like, maybe there was some sort of, what Bill Simmons talks about, market correction with her. I don't remember.
I
Some
don't know.
actress that was taking all the roles
Yeah,
that
I
she
don't
would have
know.
had, but just I feel like if you did
was
her
it like
career,
Anne Hathaway or somebody?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
I feel like if you did her career over again, or if you did 10 times, this is the
It should
bottom
be
10%.
Yeah,
of
it
what,
should be better.
what it would be. I do want to say just, as down as we are on this movie, because I think that's the right place to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just a movie I don't want to watch again. We talked about it. Like, is this the movie from the year I least want to rewatch because it's just so uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Like, there might be worse movies, but like, I don't.
Yeah, I would say
don't want to
probably.
revisit this. That there were moments that did make me laugh, and talked about the the frog scene where he's
Yeah, it was that
can't
was
figure out what
funny.
he's doing. He's like, I'm gonna lick this frog and have a trip, and then all that happens is he has a vision about ordering a sandwich at a Subway.
But you know what? That goes back to your point about Tim Robinson, where it's like that would be a funny 2-minute video to watch on Instagram or
Yes.
something. But instead it's a couple minutes in this hour and a half or whatever long movie, and that's probably the funniest part.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if I tried to think how many good 2-minute clips could you pull out of this movie, 2, 3,
2 or 3,
tops.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, that's a lot for an hour and 40-minute movie, whatever it is.
Hour and 40 probably.
So that's not great.
No, it's not.
This is a movie that, to be honest, we say all the time, like, people like stuff that we don't like. Like, hey, great, like what you like.
For sure.
We want people to like movies. This is honestly one I didn't realize this till I was talking to a friend about it. I think I'll actually be annoyed when if people do like this.
Right.
And that
it's like
sounds like such a dumb thing to say, but like I was
explain to me
Yeah.
what it is about this movie you
But I
like.
was talking to my friend Nick, and he likes Tim Robinson's sketch comedy stuff. He's like, I'm a big fan. He's like, so I want to see this movie. I'm like, it's just not good. And he's like, I really like him though. And I'm like, I thought in my head, I literally just thought, if you go see this movie and you say you like it, I'm going to be so annoyed with you.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know what that says about me. Maybe that's a really douchey thing to say, but like, I just don't understand how anyone could watch this and enjoy
either.
it. The one thing I will say is it did lead me to this theory that the people who most enjoy these like really socially awkward
Are
humor
socially
things-
awkward.
No, I was gonna say they are actually the people who are really socially outgoing and don't have a sense of awkwardness and shame.
Yeah.
And like that kind of makes sense. I'm the type of person, I'm very like conscientious of like
Very
how I
aware of
present in public, and like I don't want things to be awkward and uncomfortable. And so watching a movie like that is like my nightmare. Like this
Right.
person who's just totally like oblivious to how awkward and uncomfortable they're being and making everybody.
Yeah.
And a friend who like doesn't feel that shame and seems to like thrive in the awkward sees him being an idiot in these scenarios and thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess that's what it takes. But
I
it just
don't
bothers me because
disagree.
it's so foreign to me.
Right. And I don't disagree with your theory, but so I was thinking about this too. Even if you are into this style of comedy, and if you're the biggest, a little snarky there.
I love that you air quoted.
I air quoted. I did. I stand by my air quotes. Make that a social media snippet if you want to. So it's like, even if you're into that part of it, there's still stuff in this movie I think would just be so off-putting. Like I mentioned this last time, this whole thing about this tunnel system feels like it is plucked from, I would say a different movie, but it feels like it's plucked from, I don't even know what. And then there's like this extended part, right, where like Kate Mara gets lost. And it's like, okay, this isn't funny. It's not suspenseful because I don't care about anybody enough in this movie. It's like, so I think even if you are kind of riding the Tim Robinson train, there's just that stuff that happens in this movie that even I think the big supporters would have to be like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. Because so much of the movie, and this is what we're saying, like, you've got your moments that are played for like for humor, and you know it's a joke.
Right.
And then you got your moments like where he like first has the falling out with Paul Rudd's character. So he goes over to Paul Rudd's character's house and he's not answering his door. So he goes around jumps his fence, his backyard. And you're just the whole long, like what he's doing, slides the door open into his house. Or no, the glass is broken because he broke it. So he just can enter the house. So he starts roaming the house, looking through things, hanging out at his desk. And you're like, okay, this isn't like a joke. Obviously, this is just, why am I watching this guy be a psychopath?
And that goes, that goes back to your original point. Like, this guy's insane.
Yeah. This guy's being Travis Bickle.
Yeah.
But I'm not like supposed to be watching going like,
oh no,
like we're following the murder. I'm supposed to be following and laughing with this guy.
And it's not working at all. And then like we got to talk about it. The scene we really harped on last time is when he has kind of the big blowout and stuff. And then he shoves the soap in his mouth.
Yeah. Because they're making him box, and it's like such an obvious, like awkward thing. Because at first, him and Paul Rudd are boxing with all their friends around cheering him, and Paul Rudd's giving him little jabs and keeps hurting him. But then, as soon as Paul Rudd's like, "Oh, we should stop," he punches Paul Rudd really hard and knocks him down.
Yeah, and you're just like, I hate everything about this. Yeah. And I already hated that.
Yeah,
that's just not my idea of anything.
So it's already awkward, and then he takes the soap, and it goes up to a 10.
And I said it last time, and I'll stand by it. Probably my least favorite movie scene of the year so far.
Yeah.
And I've seen Bring Her Back.
Yeah. So he puts this, he's like, I know I messed up. I know it. So he puts it in his mouth, and it just goes on. As you said, it feels like it goes on for an eternity.
It feels like it goes on forever.
Yeah. And then that's like the guys all are like, yeah, we're out of here. We're going to go. And that's what kind of like the friendship's over at that point, which makes sense. But again, am I supposed to...
What am I supposed to be feeling right now?
Yes. All I'm feeling is uncomfortable, and I just want this to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to see Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd's characters. I don't want to see them reconcile. I don't want to see them share another scene, because you're like, I don't want Paul Rudd to have anything to do with this annoying moron who's taking up the screen on this movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just not a fun experience at all.
At all. And then I do want to just say this about Tim Robinson. Again, his humor's not my cup of tea.
Right.
But why I thought maybe it would work in somebody else's film is I do think he has some gifts for comedic timing and reaction. And so, like, I felt like the things that work best right at the beginning of the movie, there was like when his wife is giving...
Yeah, he's giving those looks.
And she makes a comment. She's like, I'm worried... She can say it. She says, I'm worried I'm never going to orgasm again. And the little like look he gives, like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? Like, what did you just say in front of everybody? And like, he's really good.
Funny.
He is the best at the quick double take.
He's great at it.
And so I'm like, if he played sort of the straight man and he was like way more normal in this movie, but everything was weird around him.
Yeah.
I think that's funnier. That's
his lane, I think, yeah.
He's a guy that as soon as I feel like he's trying to do something and trying to be funny, it's real obvious and really not funny.
Correct.
And so, yeah, I guess if I was giving notes to studio and they were like, hey, we got a 3-picture contract with Tim Robinson. Friendship was just the first. What do we do with these other 2? I'd be like, first off, have a movie that's funny without him having to make it funny.
Right.
And then make him the straight man that's just reacting to somebody else being over the top.
Yeah.
Don't, as soon as he starts to be the one that's over top, say no.
Yeah.
Cut it off, rein it back in.
Yeah, and to me, it just seemed like if I had my way, it seemed like the natural thing would be just to pair Tim Robinson up with Judd Apatow. I don't love all of Judd Apatow's movies, but he is really good. He's done it his whole career, finding whoever's about to just break through and just making a movie around them that accentuates their strengths and hides their weaknesses. He did it with Carell in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, did it with Seth Rogen in Knocked Up, did it with Amy Schumer in Trainwreck. And like, this was not my cup of tea, but he did it with Pete Davidson in The King of Staten Island.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head, because as soon as you start talking about it, I was like, yeah, that's the thing that he does. He finds whatever is the likable thing about someone
and constructs a movie around it.
And I'm exactly with you. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Pete Davidson, but I think the best that he's ever been or the most likable he's ever been has been in that movie. Same for Amy Schumer. The most likable she's ever been has been in a movie that was, Judd Apatow said, I know what works best for her, so let me build it out.
And what Carell, Schumer, Pete Davidson, Seth Rogen, all those guys were doing in all those movies is they were playing exaggerated versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And Tim Robinson here is trying to... he's trying to create a character, and I don't know if it's just like he's just not there as an actor, or if it's just bad writing, or if it's just a combination of all these things. But it's like, that's what's such a failure about it. Like, get with Apatow, play a kind of heightened, exaggerated version of yourself. Especially, I mean, that's literally basically what they did with Trainwreck. It's basically just like, this is just Amy Schumer being Amy Schumer. Again, I don't like Amy Schumer, but that was the right path for her, I think.
Yeah.
And, and those movies were all big hits, and this is a bomb.
Yeah. Tim Robinson, part of me is like, I would love to like meet that guy, and part of me is like, I wouldn't, because what I want to know is, my suspicion is he's a guy I would just have a hard time having a conversation with.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, maybe that's just me interpreting that from all the weird sketches. Maybe he's actually like a way more normal guy.
Yeah, you never
who just
know.
turns it on for these like sketches.
Could be.
I would actually I would be encouraged if he was a normal guy who just turns it on for these sketches. Because my thought is like, he's just got to be a weird dude.
Right.
He comes across as the type of dude that if I were like, you know what Friendship made me think of was Taxi Driver, he'd be like, oh great, that's my favorite comedy. Yeah. And then I would like slowly take 2 steps back.
It's like the Homer Simpson thing where he just recedes back into that bush.
It's exactly what it is. So we talked about it. You said a little bit. It's not necessarily finding its audience. When we talked about it a week ago, I said on a $15 million budget, it had grossed about half that, about 8.3 million worldwide.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it hasn't really taken off since
think
then.
it maybe is up to 10, maybe. And it's done. I mean, you got way too much stuff. You got Ballerina coming out. I don't
even know if it's still in the theater.
I don't know.
So yeah, this weekend it's definitely not.
It's toast. And I don't imagine this is a movie that finds any kind of audience on streaming.
No. But the wild thing is that it's got an 89% score on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics.
I don't get it.
75% from the audience.
I don't get it at all.
The 2 things that I said about this is, for the audience, I was like, I guess I get it because not a lot of people are going to see it, and the people who are going to see it are probably the people who know that they're into this type of comedy.
It's got to just be the diehard Tim Robinson fans.
For the critics, I think there's a good bit of fear of missing out if you don't get it. Like it's like going to an art show and looking at the abstract painting and being like, oh yes, like it's brilliant, even though everybody's kind of looking
around. And then in your
like,
mind, you're like, I don't know what this is.
And I feel like that's what all the critics had to be saying is like, Tim Robinson's kind of been pegged as like the next guy.
So we kind of have to jump on board.
It's A24, which is always, artsy, fartsy, prestigious, and it's, all these things, and they're probably all watching going like, I need to pretend like I get this comedy, because if I don't, then I'm not cool.
I'm not going to pretend I don't get it at all. I would go watch Clown in a Cornfield 8 times, back to back to back to back to back to back, before I'd watch 30 minutes of this movie again.
Yeah. I say that, and I do think that there is the smallest part of me that, like, morbid curiosities, like, I almost need to investigate and be like, do I need to watch, like, what happened? How is it? But then I don't need to do that, because
it's just a swing and a miss. It just is.
It really is. And it's a bummer because, I don't know. Again, it just felt like there was a good movie to be had here.
Yeah. And look, I'm all for like the next big person breaking out in comedy.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Like, I mean, comedy is not, I've said it on here before, it's probably my least favorite genre of movies, but it doesn't mean I'm rooting against it.
Yeah. So we said last time, our every episode thing we do where we say, where would we put Uncle Chip from The Monkey into a movie, we're like, we don't want Uncle Chip anywhere near this movie.
Don't need him here.
Because the whole thing with Uncle Chip is he's kind of a weird oddball, and in this movie he would seem like the most normal person.
That space is taken up in this movie.
Yeah. My best bit of trivia was Andrew DeYoung, who is the writer-director of this, claimed in an interview that the movie was inspired from his own experience of getting iced out of a friend group. And I said, well, if you were anything like your movie, then I totally understand why that friend
You
group,
had it coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe don't be so stinking weird.
Right.
And awkward.
Wonder if this guy, like, are him and Tim Robinson friends? Like, I should have dug into this a little bit more. Like, just what in the world attracted Tim Robinson to this project? Because it just feels like, hey, Tim Robinson, you're kind of close to breaking out. If you could pick 5 things to do, like, this feels like it was the worst pick.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this guy sat down with Tim Robinson. He's like, here's my pitch. It's a guy without friends, just your normal married guy with a kid, doesn't do anything with his life. Suddenly, a neighbor moves in, and they strike up a friendship. But then he gets a little odd, and Tim Robinson's like, I got it. I'm in. You said he gets odd.
You had me at odd.
I've got
I don't know.
this.
I don't know.
Yeah. Again, there's so much humor that can be mined from that. Like, if you want to have a movie about somebody who just like messes up a male friendship, you can do that through so many ways.
Yeah, it's
Other than being like the most awkward, I'm eating soap and acting like a doofus
Yeah.
stuff. Just, you know, I don't know. There's 100 different ways that guys screw up their friendships.
yeah, absolutely. And I hate to keep referencing all this older stuff, but it's like The Office. Like I said, that's a show literally built around that. I referenced this last time, but I think of another Paul Rudd moment in Ant-Man and the Wasp when he has that moment with the dude who was Asian Jim on The Office, and they have that weird interaction, like, "I'll be seeing you where," and that they really draw that scene out. Like, I watched it on YouTube, and it's just two guys. I mean, Paul Rudd's kind of being the cool, sarcastic guy, but the other dude just kind of being the clumsy, awkward guy, and it's really funny. And I'm not saying this movie should have been like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm just saying, like, there's material to be mined out of this. Man, I'm trying really hard to be a friend with this guy, and I just don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just to bring it home, I said, "I Love You, Man," starring Paul Rudd, is like a great classic comedy about a guy trying to make friends.
Yeah.
And it does it through the paradigm of like, what if we made it like it's a romance movie, but between guys trying to be friends. So the whole purpose was his character is getting married and only has female friends and realizes he doesn't have a best man. So he starts like trying to find a best man, and it's like he's dating all these guys.
Yeah, it's
trying
really
find the
good
one.
movie.
And by playing it up like that humor style, like him getting nervous calling the guy and asking him to hang out and stuff, like that's funny because it's as silly as it is making it look like he's calling a girl for a date, calling a guy just to hang out. Sometimes guys are still like that, like, I feel weird
Like,
calling
I don't
this
know
guy.
how to
Like,
do this.
We all have felt awkward, like, reaching out and talking. So, like, that sort of stuff is enough. That's awkward enough, but relatable awkward.
Yeah.
You don't have to go into this
You don't have to crank the awkwardness up to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that would be a thumbs down on this movie from us, in case we...
If you haven't seen
If
Friendship.
you haven't read between the lines, we did not like this movie.
Yeah, hard pass.
Yeah.
Luckily, Andy, our friendship, totally
We're
not
doing just
awkward and only a good time.
Only good times. No awkwardness here.
Exactly. Well, Andy, thank you so much for being willing to come back and
Glad to
redo
do
this
it.
episode.
Glad to do it.
We were probably actually more negative this time.
Yeah, I had a little time to sit on it, and I was like, why was I trying to tiptoe around how stupid this movie was?
Because we always want movies to be good.
I do.
think
That
why.
really is. I fight against myself.
We give the benefit of the doubt so much, and then after a little bit of time, you're like, "There's no
This
benefit of the doubt."
just wasn't good.
So
I hope the next time we're together, we can say a lot of good things, because I'm assuming we're going to do Ballerina next.
that is, we got Ballerina next on the queue, and then the Phoenician Scheme.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I might try and squeeze in that. What is that movie called? Like with Jai Courtney and like the sharks?
Yeah.
The deadliest game, or I don't even know. Deadliest
Dangerous
catch
Animals or something
I don't
like
know. Yeah, Dangerous Animals, I think is
Yeah.
what it is. Look, I expect that movie to be terrible, but doesn't mean I'm not maybe going to give it a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, is the love of your life, Ana de Armas, will she be making an appearance on this podcast, or have you?
You know, I wish. I have not heard back from her people. So
No?
if any of you have a connection to Ana de Armas, please let her know.
Yeah.
We're trying to get her on the pod.
Yeah.
You know,
Tell her to respond to Jeremy's numerous messages that he sent her. My boys are really excited to watch that movie too for her acting.
Yes.
Yeah, they're super enthralled with her acting abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So glad that we could, make that clear.
See, we can be sarcastic and it's funny.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
I better stop before I get in trouble.
We'll see you next time.